Hello again, singing Wingdivers. In this video I wanted to talk a little bit about Wingdiver's machine guns, which have changed quite a bit this time around. It's the second column here. She has a few different ones. She has reflect ones, which you can tell by having the, it has like a split in the middle of the gun there, you can see. And then she has the, like a shotgun type almost, where it shoots, like this one shoots 40 different beams, and it's closer, a little bit closer range, but it shoots like a shotgun pattern. And then she has a standard machine gun that just shoots like a straight beam. And then she has this one, which it is affected by range, but actually shoots through enemies. So that's different. And the way you can tell if it shoots through enemies is, as you see next to the damage number, the second stat, the 5-star stat down from the top, and it shows 15 and then squiggly line and 0.15. Well, that's the damage. And next to it there's like brackets, and there's two symbols, and in that symbol that says it shoots through enemies. So that's an easy way to tell. But anyway, let's get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take her standard machine gun. Well, I'm going to take the shotgun one, and I'm going to take the standard machine gun one here, which is this one. And let's get started here. I'm going to take an aerator from my split screen, and I'm going to play on mission 38, and this actually works really well. I'm on offline mode with split screen, and I'm going to be playing on Inferno. And the reason this is a good level is because you don't have to do anything. You can just roll back a little bit and wait for your vehicle to come up, and then throw your vehicle. So that's kind of nice. Because I guess the air raids that they're doing on this mission will kill some enemies to give you the vehicles. So this is a good mission to test vehicles on. So I'm going to do is I'm going to roll back a little bit, because if you stay up front there you can get hit by the mortar frog sometimes, and I only have 200 health on this character, so I'm just going to sit here with this character. And then, okay, so for these two machine guns, this is her standard machine gun. It's like a beam, like the previous game. And her second one is like a shotgun, which is kind of cool. This is kind of a cool one. It's got a decent range. This one has like 140, I think, but the reason I chose these two together is because they act the same way. I tested this for a couple hours today on this Balam. Kind of tedious, but I figured some things out. But first I'm going to start with this one, because these two act the same. So the normal machine gun and the shotgun laser behaves the same way. Oops, I didn't throw my vehicle yet. My fault. So what these do is, these both slowly reduce their damage over time. And it is slowly over time. It's not like abrupt, like I was thinking it was initially. As you can see, the beam's getting thinner and thinner and thinner, until where it's like literally like a string coming out of her gun when you get to the end, like right there. And same with the shotgun. You'll see less and less beams coming out as it gets closer and closer to the end of the magazine. So what I found happens with these two machine guns is the damage will start, like right when you start shooting the gun, it'll do 100% damage, but then it'll slowly reduce by 1 or 2% each time, each second, or no, I won't say second, but like say for example the shotgun, each shot will be reduced by 2 to 3% all the way down. And so what I found is that at 100% it's doing 100% damage. Then at a 50% or at at 75% of the magazine left, it's doing 50% damage. So that's a big cut just at 75%. So when I'm down to 75 shots on this, I'll be doing 50% of the damage that I started with. And then when you get down to 50% of the magazine, so when I get down to 50 here, it's doing 33% damage, roughly. And then when you get down to 25% left of the magazine, it's doing 5% damage. So it's almost not even worth using when it gets below, half or so, actually. And same with the machine gun. The machine gun will start out here, and then when it gets down to 75% of the magazine left, right about here, it'll be doing 50% of the damage it started with. And then when you get down to 50% of the magazine, right about here, it's doing only 33% damage. And then, of course, 25% of the magazine is doing 5% damage. So it seems like with these two weapons, you almost have to reload, halfway at the minimum to be worthwhile. And even 75% is more close to what you need to do with these particular weapons, which doesn't seem too worth it. I would say you could probably get away with not reloading to like 50% of the magazine, but after that, it's so reduced, it's so low, it's not even worth it. And by the way, the damage that it says it does, like if you multiply, let me go back to the main 3 now. If you multiply what it's supposed to be doing for these 2 weapons, let's go back to these. Like for example, you take, you know, let me take the other one. It's a little bit easier but it works the same way. But if you take the 48 damage, which is 48.0, I'm not maxed out, but it doesn't matter. If you take the 48 and you multiply it by the magazine, 923, it actually only does about 1/3 of the damage of what it says it does on these 2 particular weapon types, the shotgun one and the standard machine gun. So it's a little bit deceiving as far as the damage of what you think it would be doing, because it would be if technically it was shooting 100% damage the whole time. But now onto the reflect laser. The reflect laser acts pretty strange actually from when I was testing. There's so far the ones I have are a 5-way beam right here, and then I have a single beam one, and then I have a 2-way beam one up here. Yeah. So the reflect laser is affected by range. So as you can see, it has like the first damage is 9.1 if you're up close to the enemy, and then as you get further and further away, it goes down and down and down until it gets to 1.8 a second, which is the second. Well, so that's at max range, which is 138. This is the max range for this particular one. So that's a little bit of a negative, that it is affected by range. As far as the damage that it does, it's strange. The 5-way actually does double the damage of what it should do. Like if you multiplied 18.9 times 898, it does double of what that damage number comes up to be. For some odd reason, I don't know why. Of course, if you're further away, it's going to do less than that, but it does double the damage for the 5-way, and then for the 2-way, it does about the damage that it says it does. It's a little bit less, but it's pretty close. Where is it at now? I can't even find it. That's the single one. I passed it. Okay, this one, it does about the damage that you calculate there. So it does a little bit over 9,000, supposedly if you do 9.1 times 1100. But it actually only did about 8,000 for me, so it's close to what it says it does. And then the single beam one does half the damage that it says. So I'm not sure why there's that discrepancy between the 5-way, the 2-way, and the 1-way, but that's the numbers I've got consistently. So I'm not sure why that's the case, but that is the case. So the reflect one seems maybe a little bit better than the standard machine gun, but it's still affected by the longer you hold the trigger, the less damage it does. It's not as drastic as the first laser. I've noticed it, like for example, it seems like it reduces the damage the longer you hold the trigger. It's a little bit less of an effect than the normal standard machine gun. So it's a little bit better in that respect, but it's still reduce, you know, the damage the longer you hold the trigger, which I don't really care for. Now the final weapon here, let me go ahead and grab this one here, and then I'll grab the this one here with the X barrel on it that shoots through enemies. So let's go ahead and start to level up on this one. It's like an air raider sleeping there. So the X laser one, I don't know why I call it the X. I guess I call it the X laser because it has like an X on the front of it, but I'm not sure the official name. But this one seems like the best machine gun so far that I've found for her, unless something else is unlocked later. I really like this one particularly because it shoots through enemies, so that's very valuable. So you can hit more than one target. Also, the damage does not reduce over time up close the longer you hold the trigger, which is also a nice thing. And also, it does reduce damage the further away you are from the target, though. But what I was getting, the numbers I was getting consistently is if I'm at range using this weapon, this particular one right here, it does half the damage than what it says it does. But it does not slowly reduce over time. That's the positive of this gun. So it's going to constantly do the same damage, and it's going to shoot through enemies. Let me throw my vehicle here. So I'll show you how fast the 5-way laser reduces damage over time as you look at the numbers on the Balam. I actually figured these out, you know, with a calculator. I was doing this like I would shoot the shot, and then I would see what damage went down to and calculate it. And I actually went through one particular gun. I went through all the way down to 75 or 65% of the magazine, and then I started counting in increments of 10. But anyway, let's go ahead and get in here. So if you look at the damage, if you look at the Balam's health number here, let me go ahead and get the right gun out here. You'll see that it counts down the same time the whole time. So it's counting about 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and you'll see that it keeps going that same pace all the way down to the end of the magazine. So it does not reduce over time like the other ones. So that's a positive. But the thing with this gun is the range decreases over time. So see, I can shoot over here, but the longer I hold the trigger, now I can't shoot over there. I gotta go a little closer. And then it'll reduce its range a little bit more, and a little bit more. It's not terrible, but it's noticeable. And then now I can't shoot it till it's right here, and then it stops. So that's a positive thing. I mean, sure, you have to be closer with this thing, but it shoots through enemies, and it's like a standard machine gun that is, I think, is probably the best machine gun in this game that I've found so far. As far as the damage it does, it's actually accurate, is what it says it does if you're up close, in relatively close range. So the damage that you can calculate is actually accurate. Now this is a reflect laser, how quickly it goes down. You'll see that it goes really fast, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it'll start counting a little bit slower about halfway. 3, 2, 1, and then it gets really slow on the last 25% of the magazine, to where it's not even worth using. So it's not as drastic as the standard machine gun and the shotgun one, but it's still noticeable. So if I had to choose machine guns so far, I would choose this one, the one that has the X pattern on the front of it. Seems like it's decent damage, seems like it's decent range, it shoots through enemies, it doesn't get affected by the longer they hold the trigger, and I'm liking it. So if I had to make my opinion so far, I would choose this one first, and then I like the reflect one second, and then the standard one third. Now the only way I would change my mind is it all depends on how much it costs to reload. Like, say for example, the standard machine gun is a quick reload and it's very low energy cost, then it could be worthwhile. You just have to reload it a lot. You know, once you get to about 75% of the magazine, reload and then use it again. But if that's not the case, if there isn't a quick reloading and a low energy cost one, then I probably would stay away from the standard machine gun this time around. I used to like it, but now it seems pretty nerfed here. And then the reflect laser seems decent. It can hit multiple enemies, but it is affected by longer you hold the trigger, and also the energy cost is usually higher on these two, so that's also a negative. But this particular one seems like it's low energy cost and decent damage, and I would say I would go with this one personally. So anyway, that's all I'm going to have for this one. I'm probably going to cover the plasma weapons and the Thunderbow and the Idun in the future videos, but that was just what I got done today, so I just wanted to share that with you guys. So once again, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.